Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer and listener, welcome to another great episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We come to you with wisdom, we come to you with life-changing education, we come to you with energy and passion about entrepreneurship, and my guest is going to supply some of that. But before I let you know who my guest is, please do me the kindness of just pressing that subscribe button so that we are all on the same page, and we also need your support. Onkeme Letshwiti, welcome so kindly to Mogobe Nuggets.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Why did you decide to honor our invitation?
Well, your podcast is one of the top ones in the country, so I wanted to be part of what's doing well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just start with a short introduction about yourself.
Okay. My name is Onkeme Letshwiti. I come from Ramanaka in the Katlin district. But they call it So yeah, I come from a family of four, and I'm the third born. I'm a father, I'm a husband as well.
Okay.
I do pastoring, I'm a pastor, I'm an author, radio personality. I do radio preachings every month on one of the radio stations around. And I also do life coaching as well. I recently certified with one of the academies in America, and I do most of the time full-time classes for life coaching. Yeah.
Tell me about your academic and professional background.
Okay. I finished my Form 5, and immediately I had to go and get a job because in my family there was nobody who was working at the time, and I had, the option to go to school, further my studies, and also go and look for a job. So I had to go look for a job. So I worked in one of the banks around for about 4 years.
As what?
As a teller, yes. And I went on to do a couple of courses there. And later in the years, I quit to go to school, the pastoral school in Pretoria. I studied with the World Bible School in Pretoria. I did the theology courses. And I'm currently doing a course on leadership with the University of Queensland in Australia. And as I mentioned earlier, I've certified as a life coach with Transformation Academy in America. And yeah, that's just about that with the
Okay. Authorship seems to be your strong suit as a writer. When did you decide to be a writer?
I started writing in 2008. Most of the time I was rewriting books. I don't know why I was doing that, but I would sit and rewrite a book. And
Copy and paste.
Yeah, copy and paste. And I would read it aloud, like, do the confession type of. And I used to rewrite scriptures, the Bible, and do the scriptures. And also on Facebook, one time I realized that the statuses that I put on Facebook, I can actually turn that into books. And yeah, that's how it
Give an example
started
of
flowing. You mean
how you change your status on Facebook into a book?
I I think I had a series of the statuses that I was writing. If I'm writing on success, for example, I'll just go on and develop material on success. And later on, I think it was about a year or so, I compiled the material. And yeah, I edited there, and it came out to be a book. Yeah.
What is it about Facebook that attracted you? You could have gone to LinkedIn or to Instagram or any other.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I was familiar with the way it is. I think it was easier for me to access it and to work on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the books in general. How many are they?
I've close to 30 books or so.
30?
Yes, sir. And yeah, that 30 or so. Yeah.
How thick?
I write close to the biggest book that I've written is about 300 and something pages. Yeah.
That's good. Have you written an autobiography yet?
Not yet. I'm planning to do so. It's actually something that is ongoing. I have it, but it's shelved somewhere.
Okay.
Yes.
How long does it take to write one book?
It takes a long time, considering that you already have the material. I can put down something today, and next week I get something to add on that. So it's the material that is already there. So you find by the time I actually put together a book and publish it and print it, it's a collection of the material that has already been there. So you can't really say it takes 6 months or a year or 2 years. It depends on the material that you have written down.
Yes. Give us an idea of your work schedule when you're writing a book.
For me, it always goes back to, because I do speaking as well, so I normally record my speeches.
Sermons.
My sermons, yes. And then later on I sit.
Oh, it's both speeches and sermons. Because
yes.
You speak to the audiences.
Yes. So I normally go sit down, put together the audio and edit what I already have. So it doesn't take time for me, because otherwise I've been doing this for the longest time. So I could put a book together in about 2 months or so. So for me, it has been easy that way. Yeah.
Is it possible for you, since you give keynote speeches, to give us a snippet, a short condensed version of your keynote speech or the contents thereof, so that we know the essence of you, what you share with people?
Okay. What I can say to somebody out there is that we carry something on the inside of us. And most of what we go through, it's because of what we are carrying inside. And you don't have to mistake it to be you in terms of what you have become over the time because of how you were brought up and all that. It always points back to what you are carrying. The challenges that you have right now, connect them to what is inside of you, what you are carrying. And I believe you will get to go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Given that you do change lives and you do impact lives, can you give 1 or 2 examples of a life you've impacted without necessarily mentioning names, and how you went about it?
Well, I have, graphic designers under my arm. I have beauty therapists under my arm that I've seen, an impact from my side. And I'm still with them now. They still look up to me as their mentor. And yeah, some of them, they've been here at your podcast. Yeah, so yeah, it's going well so far.
Can you just give one example and give us the before and after picture?
Okay. You mean to mention names?
No, that would be dangerous. Just to mention generally.
Well,
one graphic designer, one architect, this what happened.
Okay. There's a young man who is more like a self-taught graphic designer. He went to the university, and he came to me one day that he feels he needs to do something that's unique. And because I'm also a spiritual person, in our language would say a prophet, I would know what he is called for and the talents that he had and the gifts. So
Just by looking at him, or through prayer and meditation?
well, for me it comes natural.
Oh.
I would know if somebody's called for this and for that, especially when it comes to talents and gifts. So I picked that, and I advised him to follow that, and I got some other graphic designers to, empower him as well, so that he could be, where he is now. He's doing very well.
Thank you
He's doing very
for
well.
saying some of them have graduated to appearing on the Nuggets. So
Yeah.
that is very positive,
Yeah.
something to say.
Yeah.
Now, can you give us your schedule? Give us an idea of your schedule when writing a book or when writing in general.
Okay. Taking me back now, I started writing using a pen and just a book. I didn't have a laptop. So back in the years, it was just, it wasn't easy for me. I would write on a book, like write my book. Later on, because my wife was the only one who had the laptop, when he comes from work, I would sit and, put that in digital, and then later on I would go and print. But what I normally do, like I said, I collect or compile the information that I have from my audios and from the paperwork that I've done, put it together, and obviously go through it, do the proofreading, do the content editing, and then I also give it to somebody else to look at it, to go through it, to edit with me, and we take it back again, look at it together, and then later on we do the library, procedures, like for the ISBN, do the barcodes, design the covers, and do the inner layout, and later on we put together the PDF for printing, and yeah, we have a book at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your first book, and what was it about?
My first book was Daily Devotions and Prophetic Words. I was simply writing on what you should, devote yourself to every day, and obviously do a forecast of where you are going. At first, it was just my own book that I would write and just read every day. But later on, I couldn't hold on to it anymore. I had to release it out there for people to have it.
Of the 30 books, which one would you say is a bestseller?
The bestseller is Become Successful Today. Yes.
And what are the key components in that book?
The book is basically about the necessities of success. Here is what I believe. I believe success is attracted more than being pursued. Success is attracted by value. If you can work on yourself, then you will attract success. So the book is just about, developing yourself. It's about looking on the inside of you and believing that you are also a chosen candidate to become successful. Yeah.
And where is it selling the most? Amazon or?
It's selling the most in exclusive books.
Okay.
That's where we
I
have
wish you had
our
brought
books.
a copy.
Yes.
So that we can show the people.
Oh yes.
And I noticed just from what you said that your key topics are success and maybe purpose.
Yes.
Talk to a little bit about purpose.
Purpose is bigger than the work we do is bigger than the schools we go to. It's more than that. I believe purpose is a collection of the things that we do. Purpose encompasses your social life, everything about you. It's bits and pieces. You can't really say this is my purpose. You would have to look at the whole thing and say, okay, this is me being about my purpose. And most of the time, if not all the time, we may never know our purpose until we get to the end of what we must do. So I believe that we have to keep on doing it. With that uncertainty, we have to, keep the faith and believe that I'm here to do something.
So how do you actually discover your purpose? How, is there a process involved?
I wouldn't say there is a process, or rather a formula in a way, but I believe you have to keep doing something that you are passionate about, something that you are always driven to, something that you do without necessarily, putting much effort. What you are always driven to. If I was to just, wake you up and say what you feel like doing, I believe that's where you are. That's where you are.
So, in the process of discovering your purpose, what does it take? Meditation, prayer, or what?
Yeah, it takes prayer, it takes studying, it takes, sitting under mentorship, it takes going to school, it takes working and sometimes not getting paid, just being there to learn and, getting the experience. And yeah, it actually encompasses quite a lot of things. We can't really tailor make it for everybody. We have different paths that we are taking. Yeah. Some people learn from, somebody would go, for example, to prison, and eventually they fall into their purpose. Somebody would get sick. Eventually, while they are on the sick bed, they find that, okay, this is my purpose. Sometimes we learn the hard way instead of, just going smoothly to what we are called for.
It's funny you should say that. Sometimes people need to just work without getting paid. I know that in the old days in Europe, there was a thing called apprenticeship, where a mentee would go and work as an apprentice and even pay the master or pay the mentor. Nowadays, this idea of working without pay, or with you even paying the person who's teaching you the skill, seems to be forgotten. And I know that even in Scotland, there was a system where you serve your articles under a pupil master, and the pupil is the one who paid the master.
Yeah.
So I want you just to develop the concept of why it's important for those who might be watching us unemployed, why it's important for them to sacrifice, to go out and learn before they can be paid. Because I always believe that you have to learn before you can earn.
Yeah. I believe it's about looking at your affordability. Sometimes we move to the city, and the pressure of having to pay rent, having to eat, and all the basic needs that we have. Sometimes the pressure comes from that. You wouldn't want to work or do something for somebody without earning because of such things. And this is to say, I believe you have to be in a state where you don't put yourself under pressure. Pressure in the sense that you have to pay your rent. If you have to stay back in the home village, maybe you have to do that. That is if you can have the opportunity to sit under somebody and get the experience and learn as well. So I believe most of the time it's the pressure that we have from what we have to pay for, the state of living.
So how do you maneuver that? How do you then still sacrifice and work without pay, at least for a time? My guess is that 6 months to a year, you may want to apprentice with somebody.
Well, it's for me, it's just a matter of saying, is it an investment? You look beyond. You look beyond that. If you look beyond it, then look at the benefit that you will have afterwards. I think it takes sacrifice. I was writing the first thing that I talk about in the book, Become Successful Today, is that you need to sacrifice if you are going to succeed. So it's like you'd be walking on water. It's not easy, but it's possible, because believing does not make things easy. It makes things possible. I believe it's about looking beyond to say, let me, and the other thing is time frame. There are people right now who are working. They've been working for a company for like 10 years, but that was never the intention when they started working. Somebody would say, I want to work for 2 years and then do my own thing, but they are still there for 10 years. So I believe it's about time frame. You need to discipline yourself to say, I'm going to do this for 6 months. Beyond the 6 months, I have to be doing something else. And that way, it will help you to plan as well. Yeah.
Let's talk about the process of publishing books, because you do own an entity called Letshwiti Publishers.
Yes, sir.
So, two-part question. How was the Letshwiti Publishers formed? And tell us the process itself.
Okay. Well, we did the registration with the SIPA, with the department that registers the companies, as the Letshwiti, actually Letshwiti Holdings. So the Letshwiti Publishers is under Letshwiti Holdings, and then we also registered with the library as a publisher. And we are also
Unified Library Service.
Yes, sir. And then we. The way we publish, we actually do what we call self-publishing. We don't necessarily own the material, like the copyright of those that we publish for. And we actually help you to self-publish. And at the end of the day, we endorse you with our logo, and obviously help you with the whole thing of designing covers, doing the editing, doing the formatting of the books, and generating barcodes for the ISBN at the back of the book, and also going to an extent of putting them online as well, and turning them into audios as well. So and we do the printing as well for those who always want to have the hard copies and all.
With 30 books under your belt, you are a prolific author,
Yes,
by
sir.
any standard. How are Botswana tapping onto that? And is it growing in any way? Authorship growing, writing growing in Botswana?
Yeah, it's Botswana are responding very well. What I noticed is that people want to read, but they don't know how to read. I actually wrote a book, it's called Become an Effective Reader Today, where I teach people how to read. Like, you just go to the table of contents. I don't think a lot of people use the table of contents. We get a book and we straight away want to read the book. So I've developed a book whereby I teach people how to read. Because we are not point blank when we get a book. There is something that you know, and probably there is something in there that you already know, so you don't have to go there. So I encourage people to just go to something that they think they don't know and read that, and that's it. You've read the book. Nobody will take you to prison for reading just one paragraph in a book and one chapter, and you've read the book. So I believe that's how Botswana are. They just need to be taught how to read and be encouraged to read as well. And with the writing, Botswana are really writing, and Botswana have a lot because they write under the environment of Botswana, and they know, some of them they write from their experiences, and they get to get people out of their comfort zone and all that. Yeah.
What about Africans in general? Do you interact with people from the diaspora and from the rest of the continent in terms of publishing for them?
Yes, I do. I've done books for people from Zambia and from South Africa, from Swaziland as well. Currently, we are planning to connect with some people in Nigeria, in Ghana. So, yeah, a lot of people are coming forth to actually, most of them, they even turn their dissertations, the PhD dissertations, they turn them into books at the end of the day. So we normally get involved with such to turn them into readable books that they can be out there.
How is the competition out there? Somebody might be intimidated by the Macmillans of this world and the big established publishers. How is the competition and how are you maneuvering through that?
The competition is there. It's not easy. First of all, other publishing houses have been there for the longest time, and most of them have penetrated the education market, like they work on the curriculums and all and what have you, of which is, I believe, that's where we are going as well. So I think the competition is tough that way because they've been around for long. And the good thing about it is that I've been to Longman, I've been to Macmillan, I've sat down with some of the editors, it's not to basically scrape them out and say, these are my competitors, I'm not going to have anything to do with them. They've been in the game for the longest time. You need to, follow after them, see what they do. And if you have your unique way, that's what you spice up your publishing house and what have you. But the basics, I believe we have to always, go to them and ask and learn.
Any of the 30 books you are not particularly proud about?
For me, I wouldn't say, because most of my books, they are more like intertwined. They are a network. It's like I write about one thing. So it's just that they are in different books. So if you really want to understand what I write about, I suggest you read all the books. They will make sense. Somebody said, it's actually Mr. Letshwiti said something. He says, in a book, there are boring parts, but you have to read them to get to the nicer part. Actually, they connect the two that are good. So I believe all of my books, when I think of them,
go against what you said earlier, that you should just read the juicy part and leave it.
Well, it's for me, it is about the subject that you are reading about. When you are reading a novel, for a novel you have to read all of it, but for some educational material, some of the things, like I said earlier, you would just browse through what you need to get out of the book. Yeah.
Where do you say you generally get inspiration or information for your books?
I would say, firstly, I'm inspired by God, I believe, the Creator, and also the experiences that I went through. Some of the books are basically based on the experience that I have. I think how I grew up and how I look at things now, I believe that impacts my writing. So yeah.
What would you say would have been the biggest obstacle, if any, that you encountered, or some of them?
When I started writing, I was not that qualified as I am today. I was not the mentor I am today. I'm experienced there, and I've done a lot of courses there and there. But when I started writing, it wasn't easy because I just had my Form 5 certificate, and when I wrote my first book, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good English and all that. So it was a challenge to me. I even thought, what, I can't do this. So that was my biggest challenge. I overcame it the day I noticed that this is a talent. This is what I have to do. Is either I do it or I'm not gonna fulfill my purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about a setback? Have you encountered a setback that you are willing to share with the audience?
I would say one time I lost my material, like almost all my books, because
Really?
They stole everything in my office,
How did that happen?
and they actually broke into my office and took my laptop, my phones, my cameras.
When was
and
that?
That was I think it was in 2017, 2016, 2017, right about then.
And you didn't have the backup?
At the time, actually, the night before, I was working on the backup. I was not done when they took all the material. I decided I'm just going to leave this whole thing and maybe focus on something else. But one day when I went to the printers, to the printing house, they told me, we've been keeping all your material. So come and get all your material.
After you had been out of it for how long?
I think for about 2 months or so. Yeah. I told myself,
You're feeling
it's
despondent,
and
discouraged.
I thought that was the end of it. I thought that was the reason enough to quit and not do this thing. It was a validation to me in a way.
So when you went, they said all the time, each time you come to them, they copy, or how does it work?
They keep the material. So they kept all the books, and they just said, you know what, bring something, we'll just transfer everything in that.
And you are hugely relieved.
Again. I was relieved.
Yeah, we nearly lost you,
Yeah.
as an author. But I thought your attitude as a man of God would be, a righteous man gets up 7 or 8 times. You would have wanted to get up.
Well, it's written, but it doesn't always happen that way. We do fall, and it's not easy for us as well. It's not easy for us. I believe, getting the material back was another way of encouraging me because I was discouraged at that time. And it happens to a number of us. We do fall. Sometimes you don't get up.
That's another question that occurs to me sometimes as to who pastors the pastors. I mean, pastors going through divorce, going through turmoil, getting through hardship. Who helps them? Because they help so many people. Who helps them in the time of need?
For me, I have people that I look up to, people who have been in the pastoral ministry for the longest time. And those I'm talking about people who are even older than me. I've tracked them, I've seen what they've done, where they've been, what happened to them. And I learn from them, and the most of the time, if you don't talk to someone about what you are going through, that's where the breakdown comes in. So I have somebody that I look up to, somebody that I share my worries with, my fears with, and I believe every one of us need that. And as well as the pastors as well.
What do you call that person? Is he a mentor, or is it what they call an accountability partner, or how does it work?
In our language, we call them spiritual parents. We call them fathers, in a way. And we can also call them, some of them we call them mentors, yeah.
How does it work? Tell me about your relationship with your quote-unquote father and how it has helped you.
For me, he speaks wisdom over my life, and he seems to have a lot of answers to the questions that I have. I go to him, and sometimes even when I'm stuck in my preaching, because sometimes you can just go point blank when you are supposed to go and preach. And when I go to him and sit with him, I can get 100 sermons, from just 30 minutes, the 30-minute talk that he delivers. So
you made me curious now to ask, who is this powerful man?
Okay, he's Dr. Bishop Mbingo from Swaziland. He comes from Swaziland. He's actually in town. He's come to preach at our church.
Oh, okay.
And he's come to also preach around Botswana as well.
So you connect with him via WhatsApp and things like that?
Via WhatsApp, and I do visit him. I was actually in Swaziland last month
Okay.
for some time. Yeah.
So in terms of publishing and pastoring, do you have different mentors for these, or he covers all of them?
When it comes to him, he does the fathering part, where we can talk about chastisement, we can talk about counsel most of the time. And I have mentors as well who are focused on the publishing side and as well as the authoring side. With the publishing, I've sat under Mr. Letshwiti for the longest time now. He teaches me quite
Nelson.
a lot. Nelson Letshwiti, yes, sir.
He's
And-
he's a member of our accountability group. We call it, it's a mastermind group.
Okay, sir.
So he's
Oh,
been
wow.
with more than 2 decades now, part
Yes,
of
sir.
that, our group.
Yes, sir.
So I have
Yes.
great respect for him.
Amen. Amen.
So how did he assist you on the publishing side?
He's actually the one who taught me how to classify my books, because he came in at a time where I was just writing. That's when I knew that I'm writing books on success, on purpose, and on prayer. So he taught me how to put them in those sets to know what I'm actually writing about. And it really helped me a lot. And also even the publishing side, when it comes to because he's very good in what he does. I've seen him doing covers. I've seen him putting books, his own books online. So he's taught me all that, doing covers. If sometimes your designer is busy, he taught me how to do it and how to do the layout. And he taught me the publishing process as a whole. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless his heart.
Yeah.
And then young publishers, are there some that are coming up that you are grooming? Are you also mentoring some?
For the time being, we are still coming up with a program to mentor them. The idea was not to basically do it at a charge. We were just to take them under our arm to show them what we do in our office. And we are still working on that program. We are still putting together material so that we can go on and help them. Yeah.
Okay. You like watching short motivational videos
Yeah.
as a basis for your writing. We mentioned this when we were prepping. Tell me about that process and what motivational videos those watching now can look at for inspiration the same way as you have done.
Okay. I mostly watch Steve Harvey, his short motivational talks. And for some reason, I always watch the Mike Tyson fights. I don't know why, but I'm mostly attracted to, the way he fights and all that. And also,
Even how he bit the ear of Evander Holyfield.
I think that one, I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah.
And I've also watched Usain Bolt. I actually read about Usain Bolt at one point that it wasn't easy for him. The guy would win in his private training before he actually gets to the field. He competes with himself.
He psychs himself up.
Yeah, he sets himself up like he competes with himself,
Yes,
not
psych
actually.
himself up, doesn't prepare mentally.
Yes. He does that, and once he comes out, he already knows the outcome. So I thought that was so interesting. I thought it was so interesting.
So Mike Tyson, Steve Harvey, Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
So really, you're a devotee of YouTube.
Yeah, I watch YouTube.
And how do you then translate this into a sermon, into a book, into a lecture?
I think I get a lot of motivation. I get a lot of answers to how to win, how to succeed. Because you watch, for example, Mike Tyson, how he starts, how he, end up overcoming his opponent. You look at that. For me, it's a sermon on its own. It's just to teach people how to, and taking it by force and being tenacious when it comes to what you are looking for.
Does Scripture say we should take things by force?
Well, yeah.
What does it say?
We should. The violent take it by force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I believe
Isn't that against everything Christianity stands for?
Well, it's not, because at the end of the day, we are living in a world where, not everybody is good. Only God is good. And He promised to cover us. You might as well do what humans do so that you, at the end of the day, fulfill why you are here.
So when it says take it by force, precisely what does it mean? Can you give an example?
It means you have to go for it no matter what it takes. If you really want it, you have to go for it. You have to wake up even when you don't feel like it and go out there and do what you have to do. And most of the time I tell people, do it beyond your feelings, because sometimes when you go with your feelings, I feel like sleeping, you will sleep. But sometimes you have to put aside that feeling and say, you know what, this must be done, and I will go out and do it. I believe that is being
So taking
forceful.
it by force doesn't necessarily mean violence.
No, it doesn't mean violence. Yeah. As long as you do it.
Does it
there's
mean?
where it says.
Does it mean you have to do it with a
With
certain amount
wisdom.
of aggression?
I believe it's with wisdom and also being harmless. That's the combination. That's
Yeah, but the
supposed to be
question
there.
I asked you earlier is give an example of how that works, maybe practically, either in your life or in some of your.
Okay, I'll give an
mentees.
example with myself. When it comes to writing books, I remember I went to publishing houses before, and I wanted to publish with them. And they said to me, it's going to be the agreement of 80-20. So I'll
Who
go
takes
away.
80, who takes 20?
They take the 80, I take the 20. And I thought,
Then
I'm
when you
just
are the creator.
I'm the creator. So I decided, you know what? Because a lot of people said, no, just take it. Everybody has been taking it. Just go. You will be successful at one point in life. And I thought, but no, there is something else. I decided, you know what? Maybe I should, set up my own publishing house. And I believe that was being out of line. That was being forceful. That was being extraordinary. So I decided I'm going to build my own,
The same way as Mr. Nelson Letshwiti has done.
So I felt that was actually taking it by force. That was actually taking responsibility to say it might have not been done before, but it can be done. I will be the first to do it.
You are a prophet and you're a pastor. Can you go back to that scripture and give us the context of what the Lord was saying? I want you to preach for a moment.
With
This idea of taking it by force, the context of that verse.
I believe on that one, we need to understand, first of all, that all things belong to God. And there are certain things that have been stolen. We can talk about identity, for example. There are a lot of people who are suffering from, identity crisis. Many people don't know who they are. And that is the most important part of our life, knowing who we are. And we have to understand something, that the enemy of our success is not afraid of the presence of God. But the enemy of our success is afraid of humans, because humans are actually God and the flesh. They are God and they are here.
So
what
divinity plus humanity combined.
Yes, sir. So that is actually what the enemy does not understand. Remember, he's been in the presence of God before. Now he doesn't understand this creature called man, because man is now a combination, is an incarnation. You've come here, and by reason of being here, he has lost the game already. And if we come to know that he's lost already because we've come here, if I go back a bit, there is something that we need to understand. We are living this life again. We've lived this life before.
Are you talking about reincarnation?
Yes, we've lived this life before.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that there is what we call eternity. So in eternity, what happened was that you started and you went through everything in eternity, in invisibility. You went through everything up to the end.
You or your soul?
Your soul, yes.
Yes.
And then when you were born, you actually came here to relive that. So you've conquered before. So if you were not a success, you wouldn't be born in the first place. So your birth actually is the success, the beginning of the whole success. So
I've never heard it explained that way. I've heard it explained in the context that you had millions and millions of other sperm that you're fighting with, but out of those millions, you came out and you are the one who, as it were, connected with that egg and became you. So you succeeded in fighting and getting through all that. So I see now you are putting it very differently. You are saying you have lived a different life in eternity before.
Yeah.
But now you've been confined to this physical one, which you've already conquered.
You've already conquered. For example,
That's
if
heavy.
you don't have money now, the truth is that money will come to you. That's the truth. So we can't pray out summer and say we want winter. Those are seasons. So your success is like that.
It's seasonal.
It's seasonal. If you are going through something, you'd rather want to go through it and confront it, because there is something beyond that. So we've done this before. What we are doing, to do it excellently, you first have to tune yourself to say, we've done it before. We'll just do it again.
In other words, I've already conquered, I've already practiced this.
We've practiced it
Been there,
before.
done that.
Yeah.
But what if a skeptic asks you, what is your backing for that? What is your support for that argument?
I could put down the scriptures for that. Because when we were not yet here in the physical, we were in God. And we need to understand that everything was created not to say there is nobody to be responsible for that. Man is made in the image of God and after his likeness. So we are basically here on behalf of the one who created us. In other words, when God wanted to create himself out of himself, he created us. When you look yourself in the mirror, that should tell you that God is alive. When you pinch yourself and feel the pinch, you should know that God is alive. So we are a representation of divinity in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the three things that got you here so far? The three important things that got you to these heights and keeps sustaining you.
First of all, I would say grace. That's the strength, the help, and support of God. That's the strength of God that got me here. And also discipline. And I would call that self-control. And I would also say, I've been consistent. I've been showing up every day no matter what. And discipline and consistency are the response to the grace of God. We are all graced.
Can you say that again?
Discipline and consistency are the response to the grace of God.
Amen.
If you see somebody who is doing well today, they probably responded to the grace of God or to the strength of God that they have. We are all graced, but it's the response that matters. Actually, the way we are right now, we responded differently. That's why we are the way we are.
Are you suggesting that grace is meaningless or worthless without discipline and without consistency?
No, grace is meaningful by itself, but for the sake of benefiting you, you will have to respond.
Ineffective.
It's ineffective if you don't respond. So you must be disciplined, you must be consistent.
Okay.
And I believe you will connect with it and get the benefits
Can you illustrate that with an example? I always like to put my guests on a tight spot.
Yes. For me, when it comes to, I always give an example with the books. I disciplined myself that I'm going to write at least one book within 6 months. And from the last time that we met, I had a book, The Dream That Nearly Died. I'm just about to release another book. It's called Building Your Bright Future Today.
You see why I called you prolific. It looks like you produce a book every 3 to 4 months.
Yes, I actually do that within 6 months.
Oh, I
For
see.
a year, I put myself to actually produce about 2 books also. So that's the discipline part. If you don't do it, nobody else will do it.
Is this to say you want to do this till the Lord says, I'm claiming back the soul?
I'm gonna do that for as long as I'm alive. As long as there is more that's coming out.
So the longer you live, I think we should pray for a long life for you, because the longer you live, we're going to end up with a mountain of books.
Amen. Do that.
So, so what do you say to those who suffer from what is known as writer's block, and they end up perhaps giving up? They say it's not coming out. How do you get over writer's block?
I believe it comes with, sitting under someone who has succeeded in that. And not only that, I believe nowadays recording, doing audio and listening to yourself, I believe it works better, because when you are stuck as a writer, sometimes when you speak, it actually relieves the writer. They work hand in hand. Sometimes when I don't know what to say, I write or I read. So they work together. I believe if they develop their speaker or their speaking, then it can help when it comes to writing.
Okay, what's the most surprising thing you learned when creating your books throughout your career?
I've learned that books are faithful. I call them faithful disciples, because you pour out into them anything that you want to pour out. Not to misuse them or to take advantage of them, but I've realized that they are faithful in such a way that they take everything and you can send them where you would never go, for example. Unlike, it's different from the people we mentor. One day they come and say, I found somebody else, you haven't been teaching me anything. So when I compare that with books, I've seen that books are so.
So do you find that some of your followers or people who interact with you, it feels like they know you already from having read your books?
I believe so. I believe so, even though I believe that you have to read the books, you have to follow me in everything that I do to actually get the whole package. If I'm speaking somewhere, like on this podcast, you have to come here and listen. You might get something that you are not getting from the books. You might get something that you are not getting from church when I'm preaching. So following it literally means following somebody like that and getting everything that you need.
Okay. What quickly are the 7 things that you believe about yourself?
I believe this about myself. I believe I'm predestined. I believe I'm unstoppable. I believe I'm responsive. I believe that I protrude. I believe I'm orderly. Protrude. I stand out.
Yes, you protrude.
Yes. I believe I'm orderly, and I believe I'm a servant, and I'm an equiper.
Okay.
Yes.
Where do you get these beliefs from? Did you just think them up?
I actually took the word purpose and looked at it, and I found out actually that's
Okay,
that's
let's go through it again. P for
predestined,
U for
for unstoppable,
R for
R for responsive,
P for
protrude,
O for
orderly,
S for
servant,
and E.
equiper.
Wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations. Do you those who are viewing you now? How do they replicate some of that to become like you?
I believe keep on following and keep on learning. Be patient. Trust the process. I believe sometimes most of the time, the way we get things, that's how most of the time we lose them. But if you are patient enough, I believe once you get it, when you remember what you went through, I don't think you can lose it. So I believe trusting the process is very important.
Okay, let me ask you, let me invite you to tell us about your plans. In other words, if there were a crystal ball and you're looking 10, 15, 20 years, what is your vision? What are your plans way down the line?
Okay, in the publishing area, I would love to set up centers in different countries, especially the countries where I've seen some response, like Zambia. I'm also working with Swaziland as well.
You mentioned South Africa earlier.
In South Africa, yeah. And I would like to start with that and have some centers there where I could go there for some time and train some people who can run the office there and leave to another place and do the same thing. And also on the side of the pastoral, I would like to also set up the branches of our church, obviously in those same areas, because it would help me to set up while I'm setting up the business side and all that. And as an author, as I've mentioned, I would love to keep on writing on success, on purpose, and obviously on prayer, because I love prayer as well. So I want to keep on writing books like that.
Is going to lead to a brick and mortar setup somewhere, like a physical structure?
I believe so. I believe it will come to that. I believe it will come to that, because actually on the side of the books, I'm thinking of even getting into turning the books into movies, into dramas. We are currently working on turning them into audios. So it's a project that
Do you think you can learn something from T.D. Jakes?
I've learned quite a lot actually. When it comes to how they do their books, actually they transcribe some of the books that he has. There are people who actually transcribed everything while he was speaking.
Interesting happened when I went to his church. I went there twice, 08 and 2012. Every time you get out of the sermon, there's a disc to buy.
Disc, yeah.
The same sermon
Same
that you just
sermon,
shared.
yeah.
Immediately there and there you pay for it.
Yeah.
You think it's something that can be done here, or it's something you are doing?
It can be done. Actually, I used to do that. It's just that our printing material was not sustaining us in a way. We had to stop, especially when we got to the lockdowns and all that. A lot of things we had to put aside, but obviously we'll come back to that and set up again. But I would love to, after a preaching, you get a book of the same sermon. I would love to have something like that, because you take advantage of the momentum. You know how it is when people, are hearing something for the first time. You take advantage as well, and obviously make money out of it as well. It's doable.
To create a book immediately after a sermon?
On my side, it's doable. Yeah.
What does it take?
It takes setting up a team that, somebody designs a cover. Somebody is doing because we actually have some softwares that can actually transcribe. While we are speaking like this, we would have this
Even editing.
turned into a book. Actually, even with the programs of editing and all that. So there is quite a lot that is available today, and that is very possible. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Here's your chance to hit me with a question, sir.
My question to you is, how do you manage with all your businesses under you that you have established? How do you manage everything?
I think it's largely grace, because it's something that you mentioned. But it's pretty much what you do. It's a juggling act. It's a work in progress. It's a willingness to delegate.
Wow.
Sometimes there's a risk that when you delegate, it boomerangs. People don't always do. But being able to trust the process and take a risk through delegation and empowering others. Because what I often do is really, I'm not myself managing this conglomerate.
Okay.
If you could call it that. I'm rather managing managers, and the managers in turn help me to manage. So it's through the process of delegation and empowerment, because by empowering others, I'm empowering humanity, and specifically for the company, I'm growing the company. You cannot grow the company unless you empower others. So it's something that I try to do. It's something that I live by, and from what you just told me, it is something that you do. And to me, it's a necessary ingredient for success.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now, that is your camera, this one.
Okay.
Please look at that viewer and just wrap up what we have said and into one final inspiring message as we part.
Okay. Look, you have a background, but you came out of that background to do something. And I believe your background does not define who you are. You can actually change no matter where you come from, especially that you are not just called for your village or called for where you are. You are called for nations. And it is high time you believe that, and it is high time you got up to take responsibility of your life, because as much as you need us, we need you as well. And there is something that you have to offer. And the day you set yourself up to rise and do it, there will be a change in certain things that you thought you had to complain about, but they are actually your responsibility. So get up and do something about your life and help live a life that you are called for.
Wonderful. Can you share with the audience all your contact details, please?
Okay. The office number is 7606 5190. 76065190. You can also follow me on Facebook, Onkeme Letshwiti, on YouTube, Bishop Onkeme Letshwiti, on Instagram, Onkeme_2018. And that's just about that. I believe we will connect on the other side.
Thank you very much. You've been very
sir.
kind to share so much with us. We appreciate your presence and we appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you, sir.